Good evening, good evening, good evening. Welcome to Benney Babbles. I'm getting Benny, and this is where I do all my babbling. And tonight's guest is one of my favourite guests. It's Ross Broadstock. How are you, Ross?
Evening all. Evening all. Hello. Oh, it's all gone quiet. It's all gone quiet, Benny. What's happened? You just lost sound. Oh, it was all looking good. I don't know if anyone can hear me. I can't. You're muted, Benny.
Yeah. I just realised what I'd done then. I put my thing on and I muted myself. Right, let's start again. Yeah, right. Yeah, as usual, it's live. It's live, and this is what I like about live.
I love live.
Anything can happen in the next half hour. It's a bit of Thunderbirds, eh? Anyway, Ross, welcome back to the show.
Diolch yn fawr, Henno. Good to be back.
Yeah, you've been busy since we spoke last. You've had such a lot on, and the channel is growing and growing every week. It's and it's nice to see that there's so many people getting involved as well. So they're not just watching the channel; it's a proper community you've built, and it's awesome.
That's very much the idea. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, no, it's good, absolutely brilliant. And as I always say on it, it's it's Britain's hidden history. It's our history. A lot of it's Welsh history, obviously, because that's the only bit where the history survived. So the other parts like England don't even know what they've lost, really. Anyway, the great thing about it is, like you say, is getting the community going. Is all the other channels are now making like a network.
Yeah,
so you got Mark Shell up in Scotland. She's brilliant at languages and words and all that. Then you got Hugh Evans, who's been doing his mostly around Gwynedd, looking at the star maps. You got Rob Shaw doing the history. Then we got people doing drones, looking over Welsh hills, providing beautiful scenery. There's Llewellyn Bren putting his videos together, trying to save the hills from the wind farms. We got just great. So what started off, channel is now at least 5-6 channels now.
Yeah, and it's great because you've got another channel as well now, haven't you?
I have. Very excited about this one, because one of the things, just to say, people don't know, the Britain's Hidden History, a lot of it's based on the work of Wilson and Blackett, and it's also a lot of the Welsh history, which just gets poo-pooed. It gets attacked and it gets deleted. I got things like the Barddas, which is all about Druidism and Bardism and how that works. And then the old Welsh triads. We can read about the wisdom of our ancestors. I mean, it's just wonderful stuff. This is our real culture that we've lost. And then you got the more serious things, like, we'll come on to this, like the King Arthur conspiracy, how, there's Welsh history. You had all this, our great kings, they're all recorded. You can even go to this site still and see where the battles were, and all this is just suppressed.
Yeah, well,
some of that's quite controversial. Yeah, but the other, which we'll come back to, the other channel, which what we realised is, particularly the last couple of generations, I include myself in this, we're not being taught the old Welsh stories that were the main ones. This is the thing. We're going to lose this tradition of passing on to our children. So this one's done very much a short little 5-6 minute videos, little bits, nuggets from history, that child friendly, but also adult friendly, and just like, I never knew that, that kind of, or things we might forget if we're not careful.
And it is our history, so we should be making that effort to make sure that it's not forgotten and not rewritten or changed to suit someone else's agenda, which is what most of this has been about, really, isn't it? Because there's been so much, and like I said, it's not just Welsh history, it's Britain's history and world history as well. It's it's the what's the saying? The winners write
the history books. Yeah. And they're rewriting things now. There's no doubt about that. I mean, what really set it off is the new what's it called? History Grounded, which is the new textbook that's going to go into all the schools about Welsh history. And there's just no history in it. It's just no history. It's just a kind of political. It's a very strange book. Very strange.
I came across it because you'd had it for Christmas, and
happy Christmas, me that one. I tell you, what a miserable read.
I can have a look into this and have a look, and it's not a history book. I wouldn't know what to call it really.
Trying to make us feel guilty about our past. I mean,
Wales haven't done anything.
We've got nothing to feel guilty about. We had a pretty rough 1,500 years since our glory days.
Exactly, and they're trying to that. There's none of that in it. It's just a very, as you said, it's lumping us into British history or the so-called British history, and lots of it's modern. It's not even history. It's the last sort of 10, 20 years.
Well, sadly, we're not getting too deeply into it. I mean, I think everyone is aware there's a very strong agenda and ideology which is being pushed through all our history and our schooling. Things like the Beeb are very difficult to watch, and we're constantly given this different picture and view of what our country is and our history is, and everything's going to go. It's all going to go. So that's an attempt to try and keep that. So a lot of it will be mainstream stories which we'd all know and consider. I got a list here somewhere, but I mean things like Mary Jones's Bible, little stories. Do you hear that one when you were young? It's quite important, and it's that's from Bala, so a bit further north, mid Wales. And the story goes that she was fervently Christian. She loved hearing about the Bible. She sort of taught herself to read. I'll do something about that. People used to learn to read. It's an interesting thing I found out recently. Anyway, so she was very determined to get a Bible, but she found out how much a Bible would cost. I think it's like 6 shillings. So then she had to save, and she could, lucky to earn a penny a day, doing all sorts of charitable work. She finally got enough money, and to save her shoes, she walked to Bala barefoot to buy a Bible and came back. And when news of this story got out, that's how the British Bible Society and sending Bibles around the world started, from that story about Mary Jones.
Right.
So you'd think that would fit the agenda, it's a female main protagonist, and it's an important story. But even that, it just seems to. I wonder how long these stories are going to last if people aren't passing them on.
Well, it's the same as all the work of Wilson Blackett. It's he was told by the old men when I think it was during the war, he was sent up to mid Wales to stay, and he used to sit down and
out to West Wales, yes.
And he'd be like, "Oh, right, okay," and that his interest. So, and this is what you're doing now, basically, but putting it out there because, as you said at the beginning, you started it all off, all because you were interested in the stuff that Wilson and Blackett were doing. We used to watch. I'm the same. I watched nearly every video that's about them. And Rich Hall was doing a bit, and then all of a sudden there was nothing, and I was like, well, nothing new from why? And then I found you.
yeah. A lot of people say the same thing. Really, they've been fans of Wilson and Blackett in particular for decades.
Yeah,
and just assumed they were the only one. They might have a friend who's into it, and they think those 2 or 3 people are all there are, and it's just been forgotten. And then it's amazing how many people have just appeared, really. I mean, not everyone originally a Wilson and Blackett fan, but people might be surprised to know that, I mean, there's now 4,000 people following the channel. Like, it just reached 4,000, I think, or it's 3,980, something like that. And we get about 1,500 watching the live show every Sunday. Not all live, some on playback.
But it's still, and it is, as I said, it's growing every week.
All the time, yeah. People are interested in this. There's a desire to know this stuff. And what's great as well, from my point of view, I'm not trying to just build this thing about me. It's about their own research, their own channels, new books are coming out and everything. It's great. It's quite an exciting time for us.
Oh no, it is definitely. I said that there's more people now with their own channels, and you're all working together, and that's what I really like to see. Is like I don't watch telly. I watch YouTube.
Yes,
it's people like yourself. I watch Martin, and I've
Martin as well. Yeah. I'll make Martin. We're going on tour. We're going to go live.
We come on to Martin, and and
a tour bus with Martin. Imagine that. I'm just thinking, that's gonna be interesting.
I'd love to have an interview with Martin, but I can get you both on one night. But
we just need to block off about 3 hours if Martin's coming on as well.
I'm allowed to broadcast for 8 hours, so you should.
We should get past the hellos by then. That should be good.
It's because I watch it, but I've got a sort of I'll watch it in sort of 45-minute spurts.
Yes,
and then I cut it up because I can't.
That's interesting because I do that as well. I mean, it's very difficult to find 3 hours in a go to watch it, but I do. Yeah, I watch like about 45 minutes, and then next bit the next day, and I take 3 or 4 days to watch one, and then the next one's probably due by then. Yeah,
and it's like a stand-up act as well. That's what I love about it.
Well, that's the great thing, isn't it? I mean, it's
he doesn't.
It's Martin, basically, isn't it? He's just funny. He's a clever guy, and he brings us stuff.
He's brilliant. But
I've read a lot from him as well. I think I tried to because I think my channel is originally I was trying a bit too hard, and it was a bit too much like being in a school classroom when you're going to get some history. And I used to get quite frustrated where some programs would waffle for 10, 15 minutes before getting into what they were going to do, And then so I was like, "Hello, evening all. Right, we're going to do this," and then boom, and that's it. But I found this too. But you watch Martin for a while. The first time I watched him, because he got in touch with me actually, which is really flattering. He was like, "Oh yeah, I've seen your stuff. I love it, and come on my show." So then I watched the first. I was like 20 minutes in, like nothing's happened yet. There's like 40,000 people following this. What's going on?
I know it's brilliant.
So 40,000 followers. He hasn't said anything, but it was just very this like the next. So much information the next couple of hours, and you realise the chat and everything makes it more fun. So
it does. So
Sunday evening's a bit more relaxed now. And then I do these little 5-6 minute videos, and they're more straight in because you've just got 5-6 minutes to get busy, and you just want to pick up something.
And it is about more content you put on the channel, more chance it's going to be seen. So and it's. That's why I done a what's it called reaction video this week.
Right. Okay. What did you do? Reaction to what did you do?
It was a video somebody sent me of things you don't. You wouldn't believe it if it wasn't filmed, kind of thing. It wasn't the very best. It wasn't the best. So my son just been here now, and he said to me, "I'll send you some videos." He said, because he used to when he was living here. We used to watch him and Matthew. Matthew that we went for breakfast with. They used to make me watch.
Lunch. Thank you, Matthew. Yes.
Epic fails. So basically, it's people falling off skateboard, just hurting themselves.
So stuff my son enjoys. That is, yeah.
And I can't bear it. I'm just like, oh God, I'm feeling the pain with them. And he said,
They're usually pretty young, the people doing this, and things don't hurt when you're young, do you? This is great.
Exactly. Like I've broken bones. I know how it feels.
Yeah, but just watching it now, it hurts. I know what you mean. Yeah, it was made rubber indestructible before.
So
the other thing we're getting into as well is a lot more of the bardic stuff. So I should come on like this now. I should appear like that. Like I can't grow a beard though, so I think I've had it really. I'm gonna be there. I thought a new channel I could call it the Beardless Bard, perhaps.
No, that's a good idea. That's a good
Beardless Bard is quite catchy, isn't it? So I've given it away now. Someone beat me to it now, but Beardless Bard.
Do it now.
I can't. Yeah, I got to register my channel quick. I got no content.
Start a new channel up quick. Arnie.
I want to do all these triads and everything. You could just kind of. They're just brilliant. The three great whatevers of Wales and of Britain. And if I had a pair of glasses, I would read you a few. Hang on.
Well, when I in school, I wasn't a very I wasn't the best pupil, and I didn't like school at all. It didn't work for me. But history was the one subject that I was in that grabbed me. That and drama really. And so when I left school, I didn't do my history exam, but then I went back to college afterwards and done it because it was
good.
And because I wanted to do Welsh history. I didn't want to do normal history. I wanted to do GCSE and Welsh history, and it peaked. But then when I started looking into things, it was like, well, hang on a minute, this is a bit, this doesn't add up with this beer, and then that led me onto Wilson and Black. It was
yeah. It's a real eye opener when you see it. And I was discussing with someone the other day that they were saying, "God, it's like really addictive," and I think what it does, it taps into we got, I don't know if it's subconscious or it's just in our society or we've known it. When you start reading it, you just know, yeah, this is right, and this fills the gaps. This all makes sense. It all slots together. This gives us our history back, and it is addictive. Then you want to find out more and more and more about it. It's brilliant.
Well, let's say
it feels right, doesn't it? You know what I mean? It feels like you've already read this before somehow. You don't read anything and go, well, that doesn't seem right, or where'd that come from? Well, it never happens to me anyway.
Well, no, I'd done the chartists and the like, and how many chartists were sent to Australia and
French Odd was shot dead in one day, weren't they, in Newport?
Yeah. And I think he was a butcher or something, and he got sent to Australia. And then he came back, and it's like, I don't know, but how did he come back?
Yeah. It's surprising they used to get so many years. You always think it's for life, don't you? But they did come back sometimes. Yeah.
But then I started. I found that quite interesting then. So I started looking into Australian history, and that's a different story in itself. Of sort of there's how did a bunch of convicts with no skills whatsoever build a city in 2 years? Because when within 2 years of them bringing more people over, there was this little city.
It's really okay.
Yeah, and it's like,
I'll look into that.
Who built all these? And I was like,
the Aussies always say that there's less convicts than people make out, don't they? That's they try to say that it was. It wasn't just convicts, was it? There were other people making a life there or something.
Yeah. But it was I went down another sort of road then, and then and then Egypt. That's always interested me, Egypt, because
me too. Yeah.
It sort of doesn't. It makes sense, but doesn't make sense.
Well, it does again with Wilson and Blackett. Then it's not just British history. I mean, there's stuff on Egypt and hieroglyphs. Not just my mind, really. Yeah. I mean, that was very much the moment when I had to sort of just start writing books and stuff and change my whole life because as you know, I did the book on how to read hieroglyphs.
Yes.
Welsh, and it's dead easy. I mean, it's not even challenging. You can learn in a few minutes. I mean, there's the example I usually give, a goose. You think, why is there a goose in hieroglyphs? You've seen this many times.
Yeah.
There's Guiv is knowledge, so goose is knowledge. It's that simple. Why else would you draw a goose? You explain to me in any other language why you'd have a goose.
Because
and the sun being Ra, like a Rai we have in Welsh, you call it a Rai, but Southern Welsh, a Ra. It's like the sun god. It's still in the Welsh language.
And I can't understand how, you've done a really good job of, with the book. And got on. You managed to get on SOC.
Yes,
and do that.
Fame and fortune will. Oh no, it hasn't. No.
But you think about it. That's big news.
It should be, shouldn't it?
And we can't read the hieroglyphics. Hang on, we can hear. Oh no, we still can't read them. No, you can hear.
You can, yeah.
And then I can't hear you. It's that's what
I have to say that Rodri guy from SLC who produced the program, he was really excellent. So I think when he contacted me, and I think it's one of our members, Richard Evans, he got hold by a person he knew and all this, and I really think he thought it was going to be a joke. He turned up thinking it's going to be a bit of a laugh. It's just a joke. And fair play to him. He was listening. I did a presentation. You were there, weren't you?
Yeah.
And you can see him, and the cameraman, particularly the young chap who was doing the camera, he was really getting into it because they're all Welsh speaking, and you can see actually this actually does work. And they gave it a really good show on S4C. They didn't belittle it or humiliate it. They were like, this does seem to work. It was really good. I was optimistic then that I was going to go somewhere, but I don't know. It just seems people just can't get their head around the idea, can they?
No. It's it can't be real if it's not on the telly. Like,
it's been on the telly now, isn't it? This is the thing. I thought that would be it.
That's what Seaman say. I don't count, but it does. It is growing. And
I spoke to one academic, and he said you have to. How did he put it exactly? Anyway, there's in a framework sort of thing. We had a real. He's okay. He showed me around Aberystwyth around the library and everything. Very nice. And he was trying to find out more about historians from the non-academic world. I mean, he really wanted to speak to Alan Wilson, but obviously he's almost 90 and up in Newcastle, and I'm like a proxy, so next best thing. He spoke to other historians as well, to try and bridge this gap between academia. But the problem was this whole thing. What was he called? Like a paradigm or something, where you've got this body of work, and you've got to learn the body of work, show your appreciation of the body of work, and then you can add to the body of work. What I was trying to say, but this is the problem. You never leave that area. And sometimes, like with the hieroglyphics, it goes all the way back to this guy, Champollion, who decided it was Coptic in a dream when he was 11. I knew nothing about Egypt or anything. I mean, really? That's the basis? That's the little point at the top of this? So all everyone does is go within this area all the time.
Yeah.
You're actually, like I always said the other day, you shouldn't be rearranging the leaves and the twigs. You're on the wrong tree, you know?
Yeah.
So for me to get taken seriously with the Cymru glyphs, I have read a lot of Egyptology, and I've tried many times to learn how to read them. You can see it doesn't work. So for a lot of, I could have despaired in the end, thinking I'm just not clever enough to do it. Yeah. When you think about it, a written language shouldn't be that difficult. Otherwise, it's useless. You know, if you need to spend 20 years to learn how to write, you haven't got many young scribes around the place, have you? You know, who's going to do the writing? Who's going to read it? Oh, yeah. Why put something up on the wall if the only people who understand it are over 50 and university professors? Yeah. It's bonkers. But so if I want to be taken seriously with hieroglyphics, I'm going to have to spend the next 3 or 4 years of my life do a degree in a subject that's fundamentally flawed and doesn't work, to get a piece of paper to say, yes, I know about Egyptology. It's all nonsense. It's over here, the answer. There's no, and you can't get the people in there, in the tent, to look outside the tent. This is the problem. And I don't know how we get around that, really. It's very difficult.
It's ego, it is, isn't it, really, when you think about it?
I guess so. Ego comes into it, doesn't it? Yeah.
Like, well, no, I've spent, 20 years doing this, and and no, I don't want to look at that.
Yeah. That's the problem, getting to look at it even, isn't it? Because Swansea University, particularly, I mean, they've got a Welsh department, they've got an Egyptology department, they've got an Egyptology museum.
Yeah.
They could be world leaders in this.
Oh, well, so you'll have to... Yeah. My mummy taught me how to read it.
You what, sorry?
I said my mummy taught me how to read it.
There we go. Your mummy, very good. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's my...
Thank you.
So also, star maps. You've been doing a lot with the star maps as well.
Yes, yeah.
And currently, there's a wind farm being built up on top of St Henid.
Yeah, that's particularly seriously bad news. That is, but there's a few. What we've got here is any Wilson and Blackett fans out there will have probably seen these maps. These are like treasure maps, these are. And I'm sharing them. I was holding on to them longer to bring out a book just about star maps and everything, and they're going to be in there. If anyone knows how to photocopy A2, that would help, because it's a bit difficult. I'll have to do in sections and put them together. But this goes back to, I'm trying to get this on camera as much as I can. So everyone can see it except me, If it's, I've got another map, you'll see in a minute. Anyway, there's an Ordnance Survey map there. And what you have is a center point, the Polaris, which is, we think is in St. Gennydd, up on the St. Gennydd Common. And then from that, then you can see all the different, the names in the Welsh landscape. Yeah. And the mounds and everything, all matched with the stars, which is quite amazing. So what we've got then is an abstract drawing that Alan Wilson's done years ago. So what you can do is this will be easier to see on the camera, I imagine. So what it does, it gives, so there's a sort of St. Gennydd Polaris in the middle. And then what you have then is a map bearing and a distance to take you to the different sites. I'll read a couple off just to give you an idea what we're talking about here. So you'll have Toyna Gwent. So that's the Betelgeuse, which is the red star as part of Orion. And then you've got Toyn. Oh God, I've got my glasses on now. It's Inconspicuous, which is in Welsh. You've got Toyn Hywel, which gives you another one then. And you'll know these places. A lot of them around here. I mean, you're in Aberdeen. What we got up towards Aberdare way. And we got Pentoyne, places called Pentoyne Birth. So there's all these places represent different star maps. And it's a huge area, about 40 miles across. So we got Tumbarlan is all the way across to, it's by Caerleon, Newport Way. So that's the he-goat. So the whole thing makes a massive star map. And from that then, what you can also do is it ties in with Babylonian history. And this, we've got another person then, Steve. Oops, Steve's watching, Steve Willett. And he's off looking at the ancient Babylonian origin stories and all the names. Right. Now, something Wilson and Blackett wrote about a long time ago, and I'm trying to get times 2 more on it, that all these old Babylonian Enkidu and all these people, all the names translate using Welsh. All the names translate.
Right.
And they all have meanings in Welsh, which just starts to freak you out a bit because they all translate, all the names. So and when it really gets bizarre then is what Steve's been doing is spending years and years and years scouring the Southeast Wales countryside because he was on to something whereby for some bizarre reason we've got all these Babylonian place names that seem to fit in with the Babylon origin stories in the South Wales landscape. Like if you go up to where's the place? Walked up there. There's a country park and everything across there. Towards Blackwood Way. There's a lovely country park there. You can park up, walk up the hills. Well, around there you've got the farms, for example. You've got you can look Tiamat, who is the original sort of demon god who's going to destroy the world and everything. You've got Tiamat, and if you look down from above, the valley forms an outline of Tiamat. And then where the shoulder is, you've got a farm called Shoulder Bone Farm or White Shoulder Farm. Why would anyone call a farm White Shoulder Farm? It makes no sense at all. And then opposite it, you got like the farm, which is in Welsh, of course, but the name means, hold in the box. Then you got one of the little hills is the Garden of Eden, which, because of course their Bible stories came from the Babylonian stories. Yeah. So why have you got all that on the Welsh hills in the place names? Because the place names don't make any sense. They're weird. And some of them, it gets to the stage where you look at Caerphilly, for example. You can also put the zodiac on, and Caerphilly, they say there was a Saint Philly. Maybe there wasn't. Maybe Philly is a reference to a deer. And if you look on the Babylonian star map and put everything together, that's where the deer should be. And places like Merthyr, is it Merthyr or is it really Mercha? You got this story that, there was the Saxon raid and she was, the girl was sacrificed, and she was praying. There's a few things with that story that always strikes me. Is like if everyone was killed, including her, who wrote down that she was praying when she died, Like, who survived to tell the story? Like, I'm on a tree, like, they're going to chop it. God, So maybe it's true, maybe it's not, Merthyr, but that could be Mercha. And what gets fascinating then is when we start looking at the zodiac things, there's loads of place names then around the Merthyr area, which tie in with, Mercha being Mercury. Yeah. So there's loads of stuff around the Merthyr area, place names that tie in with Mercury. Then you move across a bit, there's all the place names that tie in with the next thing on the Babylonian star map. And the whole of South Wales seems to fit. And the more you do it, the more it just blows your mind. It's just, what is this connection with Babylon and all that? I don't know, which way did it go? Did it start here and go there? I mean, there's lots of exciting research going on as well. We starting from what Wilson and Blackett did, it's actually moving on as well, which is the good news.
Yeah. Because I come, you come to people bringing in new things all the time, and then they are mapping up then and matching with the work of Wilson Blackett, and that's it's like, oh, hang on a minute, if that matches up, if neither of those are real, then they shouldn't match up at all.
Yes,
it's like. Yeah, it's and the whole.
Well, how else to explain these things is the other question, isn't it? Pardon? Why would you have a farm called the Shoulder Farm where the shoulder should be? I mean, why would you call a farm that? It's weird, There's all sorts of names. I mean, I'm just giving a couple off the top of my head. I mean, Steve's the man. He's got hundreds, at least 100 of the old farms and hills and places like that. That's why it's really important that these names don't get changed. Really important.
Well, they tried to do it in, I think it was down Llanelli way. There was, they tried to change the name of it, and they didn't have much luck. But I know there's.
I did a video on that. Yes, they changed it to Hakuna Matata.
That's it. You did a video. See, I knew. I'd seen
Swahili. That's it. Yeah, I mean, absolutely outrageous.
That's so surely somebody done that as a joke.
I wonder if it's a wind up. I don't know, because there's a lake up in North Wales, a very long name. They called Lake Australia, haven't they? There's a lot of place names taking place.
That are changing, yeah.
So it's happening.
It's like, yeah, why would you call it Lake Australia?
And sometimes they get things wrong, and you wonder if they. I should have this to hand, because I use this story a lot. I don't know the details of it, but originally there was to do with Cowbridge. The problem was Cowbridge was a mistranslation of the old Welsh name. It didn't mean a bridge and a cow. It sounded a bit like that, but it was something else.
Yeah.
So it's become Cowbridge. Now, in recent times, of course, when they put in the Welsh back to it, they're given for a literal translation from the English, which was wrong, you know?
Yeah, I've seen.
Cowbridge is now Pont Bwch, or whatever it is, you know, something like the Bridge of the Cow or Ford of the Cow, you know? And it's like, it was never that. That was a mistranslation.
Well, I seen one the other day. Obviously, it was a road marking, and it was drive slow. And based in Welsh, she was telling people they were a snail.
Oh, that's pretty slow, isn't it?
And it's like, well, yeah, because all they did is Google translated it.
Yeah.
Google translated.
Do you remember that one a while back when they put a sign up, and they had the English on one side, and the Welsh translation was, "I'm sorry, we're not able to take your call right now. We'll reply when we get back to the office." and they put the whole thing on the board.
See, no, things like that brighten my day up. It's like, well,
yes,
you couldn't
write any harmless fun in this. When you start, people, the other problem you get with the farms and that is people, particularly at the moment. I mean, I don't think people realise Wales is getting invaded at the moment. There's massive flight, you want to call it, from England, where people are just flocking out the cities and buying up Wales, and they're not respecting the old names. They want to put an English name on there that they can say.
Yeah,
we are being invaded right now. You know, it's a sort of kind of peaceful invasion, if you like, but it's.
It's like a lot of friends that live in Mid Wales, and that's what they've come along. There's so many people, and they said, "Oh, you live in so and so farm up the road, don't you?" Or no, I live in. It's like, no, they're talking about the same, but no, I've changed the name of it.
Yeah, it's outrageous, isn't it? It's like, I think we really need to educate these people and say those names are ancient names. You shouldn't change them.
They're there for a reason. But again, it goes down to lots of these farms and the fields that they've got. They're all named for all the battles that happened.
Yeah.
And say, no, these never happened. But yet it's all there. It's the names and the fields are all there. But they suddenly changed.
Yeah, and the field names and all that. Yeah, and you're going to be able to find them in reference books, and that gets more difficult.
Yeah, it does, and it's all. Well, I think I spoke about this in one of the last conversations we had. Of not to make it political, but it's sort of you'd think that people would be grabbing hold of this information and saying, you know, they tried to wipe us off the earth. They tried to get rid of the language that's coming back, and I thought with the language coming back, people might want to know the history, and I think this is why it's growing so much. And this is, I try and direct everyone towards your channel. That you ask a question, I'm like, what do you want to do? You want to go and watch?
And there's almost 400 videos up there now, so it's great. But one of the things I think we need to start doing, it's the only place in the world where our culture exists. You know, if we get wiped out here, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. So all this talk about multiculturalism and everything, well, this is only one. If you want to keep multicultural, you have to have different cultures. And if our culture's gone, it's less multicultural. So I'm not buying that argument for a second. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the things one of the things I really object to is I think we should start calling ourselves First Nation British, or even First Nation Welsh, or whatever. First Nation Cymraeg.
Yeah.
And First Nation British is really important, and we do have a culture. Because I think the most liberal-minded, or whatever, I don't know what the correct word is anymore. Can't keep up with the political changes. But you wouldn't find many people who would say, well, I'm sorry to First Nation Americans, you know, Indians we used to call them. this sacred ground and this whatever. We're just going to destroy it or rename it and build it. That's gone on for a long time.
It's been
finally, people are aware, and now it's a lot more difficult to do that. There's the big pipeline protest a couple of years ago. People are more aware, and they'll say, look, they've got a right to this. They're tied to the land, and the Welsh are tied to the land.
Yeah.
We have this thing called hiraeth. It's in the language.
And
other languages don't talk about hiraeth. The English don't even understand what hiraeth is.
No.
It's a yearning for a place that might not even have existed. It's just, you could be sitting in like you are now in your own home, and you still have a sense of hiraeth, a sense of longing and yearning and missing this place which you're even in it. It's a strange bond.
Yeah, it is.
And it has to be respected, I think.
And it's promoting that is the I get rib because I used to watch a rugby, but every time I watched them they lost. So
you watched Saturday, did you? I played you.
No, I didn't. I honestly didn't.
Oh yeah, you're well out of it. Don't worry.
I just don't watch it so much, and because having worked on the door for years, I worked every international, and it just put me off. I think.
Okay.
And they say, "Well, you can't be. You Welsh? You Welsh? You don't like rugby?" I'm like,
yeah.
You like rugby, I used to play rugby and I think, but it's like I'm Welsh every day. I'm not just Welsh.
It's not compulsory, is it? Yeah.
Like I speak Welsh and I'm Welsh every day. I'm not just a fair weathered Welsh.
Yeah. What they call the glitter and cowboy hat brigade.
It is, it's like, oh, I love Wales, Wales. And then as soon as
they get hammered, put face glitter on and a cowboy hat. And,
let's get back to
rugby for a day, yeah.
Let's go back to sporting everything else that England does. Yeah, let's all
weird one anyway. Like, I think if you look at it closely, that there's probably more people support soccer anyway. And what do you think the number 1 and number 2 supported teams are in Wales? What's number 1 and number 2?
Cardiff and Swansea, probably.
Cardiff and Swansea. No, Liverpool and Man United. So there you
go. Yeah.
I'm not sure Cardiff gets in the top 4 or 5 even. I don't know. So sport's a weird one, isn't it? I mean, it's quite a new thing, really. If you look at, I love sport, right? And I love rugby, and my 3 boys all play it. And I prefer watching that, really. I like watching my own village play or my own boys play.
I'd go and watch
the local team, watch Atlantic Vardra, I got my...
When it went private, really. When it went private, that's when I stopped. I was playing at the time, and all I wanted to do was play rugby. But then you get people turning up that have done something, and they'd be paying them to play. And it's like, I'll play for nothing for you.
Yeah. I never got paid for play. Like, it seems strange to me.
A beer afterwards or something. And I think that kind of spoiled it for me is when it went private. Because
professional, yeah.
Professional. I think the heart went out of it for the players. Hiraeth.
Yeah, I think it changes everything. Yeah.
Because it was like, yes, it's proud to play for Wales, but yet now it's, I'm proud to play for Wales, but I'm getting a big pocket.
They get a lot of money, don't they? It's a strange situation.
It is, and
yes, it's because you're begrudging the money on one hand, but the problem is everything's gone professional, isn't it? You can't be the only team not professional.
Yeah.
Scotland looked like being the only team not in the Rugby World Cup when it started. They wanted to stay amateur. Scotland fought hard against professional rugby.
Yeah,
but in the end, what can you do? Now they got a load of Kiwis and All Blacks playing for them.
Always money talk.
Dig at the jocks.
Money talk, as they say.
But sport is see one of the things. I've spent a lot of my time dedicated to sport, and I follow the football, I follow the rugby. I think I followed every sport just about. I'm even looking forward to the Super Bowl. I've been a big sports fan, and you realise that why these sports were organised and introduced was not actually for our benefit. What happened was people used to work 7 days a week. Then it became 6 days a week, and that got bottled up with the church, right? Especially in Wales. It was like in our parents' time, you had chapel all day Sunday, and you couldn't play any sports. The Bible forbade it, so you weren't supposed to drink. Wales was dry, so Sundays are pretty safe. A little bit different in England, but the same sort of principles. Where it changed is when they started giving Saturday afternoon off. And up until recently, people would work Saturday morning, midday, that's it. And the bosses, the owners, they were worried, what are these people going to do? They're going to get to mischief. They're going to cause trouble. They could organize riots. They could do all sorts of things. So it was actually the bosses, the managers, who started introducing organized sport. And a lot of the teams, particularly in football, if you look at the old teams, like to this day, you'll still see Woolwich Arsenal, the Arsenal, which is their factory teams. Yeah. You look at Man United, all these, they all start off as company teams, and in Wales, you have steelworks teams. Same with the rugby, the collieries were organised teams. Yeah. They're all around the colliery villages. That's why you got the rugby area really is the industrialised area, because it was industrialists who did it. And they were prepared, then pride came into it, and they were prepared to invest a bit and have a ground and nice kit and all that kind of thing. It was a bit like their liveried servants. So it was done as a distraction. And,
bless you.
Excuse me. Sorry. And then, so what you've done is the number of people you must know, and I know, who can recite every football team, every ground, every player for donkey's years.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Oh, there we are. Haven't missed a football match for their chosen team for years. Someone supports a big team like Manchester United. They've been all around Europe with them, all that kind of stuff. We'll tell you every game right back to the 1960s. You ask them about history, they say, I'm rubbish history. I can never remember anything. It's like, well, you do remember history.
Yeah, you just remembered that, yeah.
Your brain's been switched. You're not interested in serious things. And this is happening in all society now. It's games are very popular, computer games, TV is a distraction, all these things. I don't want to sound like some funny-duddy killjoy or something, but there are a lot of these were deliberately designed as distractions.
Yeah.
So you don't learn your history, you don't think about life and what you want to be doing, and have serious conversations and exercise your brain. And these things are.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons that they shut down all the pubs during the pandemic, when there was no need at the beginning. It was because people were going to sit there together and discuss about what was going on.
Yeah. All discussing how, sedition. How annoyed they were with the whole thing or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, and it's, But what was I going to ask?
Sport is a dangerous distraction, yeah.
King Arthur. Let's jump on to King Arthur. I wanted to ask you about the new book.
Right, go on, yes.
It's a new book, but it's a chopped up version of the big book, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a reissue, really. I mean, this is Wilson and Blackett. There's a long story where the name Grant Berkeley appears on it. This is brilliant, but really, it's two books glued together, and it's huge. And also, the originals, they are falling apart. I have to hold this like this. You should be holding it by the spine, because otherwise it all starts to
come out.
And that's almost 600 pages. And it's what we're doing. What's taking up all my time at the moment is reissuing this. Now, the problem Wilson and Blackett had, if anyone's read their books, they will know that they never really had, they couldn't get any editing support or publishing support. And they had a good go. And they were doing these books on typewriters. I mean, I've got original notes, and I am just flabbergasted. I mean, in here, in the first half is all about ancient British history, migrations, and the ancient writing system, Colburn, which people say is a fraud and everything. And I'm just trying to pick out some bits to show you. Probably, I can't do a screen share, can I? It would have probably been easier.
So
what we have here, I just say it's a bit small on it. There we have just some examples. A lot of people call it runes. Everyone thinks runes. Everyone loves Vikings, don't they? A lot of nonsense.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure if the Vikings ever existed. So what we have to do is read. See, it's a bit small, isn't it? But you get an idea anyway. All these little symbols and runes, which we see on our stones all around Wales. And they say they're Ogham, they're foreign, and they're Latin, and all this. Anything but British, even though they're in Wales and nowhere else with quite that style of writing. Yeah. Apart from some in Ireland, which could just as easily be due to when the Welsh colonised big chunks of Ireland, which never gets mentioned, as this idea that for some reason we had Irish people carving stones in the middle of our countryside. I mean, why would they do that? It doesn't make any sense at all to me.
It's those kind of things that got to me, really, that made me start questioning, because I used to do a lot of hill walking and things like that. And as you said,
find these things, yeah.
That's a Roman thing over there. It's like, what? Well, no, I'm sure. Well, no, surely it would be a Welsh. Where's our history? And then,
why did no one pull it down when the Romans left? I mean,
why have they left it there? And
when was this supposed Irish invasion that all the stones are written in Irish that we can't read?
Yeah,
it's bonkers.
The big one then is Caerleon, and if anyone's if you're watching, is go over to Ross's channel and go and have a look at these videos. Genuinely, go over and have a look, because it will open your eyes.
I'm not sure that's Roman either, no, thank you. Yeah, have a look, and you'll see everything's in playlists. If you've got a particular area you like the myth of the Romans, there's a playlist. You can go through those, or loads of playlists. Well, there's almost 400 videos now, and it's stuff most days. So just go to Britain's Hidden History, under my name. Backwards. I can't do this the right way. Whichever way I do it, I'm always pointing at the wrong end. Oh, I don't know. It's like a double mirror. This is. Yeah, but so what Wilson and Blackett did then? They were originally researching British history, King Arthur. That's the big one. Yeah. Because all our history was really deleted successively. It's been rewrites. Every country in the world has rewrites of history. The Tudors, after you put them on the throne, the Welsh people on the throne of England, they basically betrayed Wales completely, but the big rewrite was really the 1700s, when all British history just got deleted and treated as myths and nonsense, and we were called Celts. We're not Celtic, nothing to do with the Celts. They're in France. The Irish aren't Celtic either. We're Cymru. We got British history. We've got our own history. So what they started doing now was exploring the old writing. I mean, you look at things like Iolo is an interesting one, right? Iolo Morgannwg, and everyone goes, oh, he's a forger, he's a drug addict, he's this, that, and the other. You look into it deeper and you think, well, hang on, where'd you get all that? Where'd you get those ideas from? And what's happening? A lot of stuff that Iolo is supposed to have forged around about the 1800 or 1780s, 1790s, more and more of it has turned up from the 15th, 16th century, just like Iolo said. So if you haven't heard of Iolo Morgannwg before, you used to go around all the old homes, finding any history books or old books, because all the stuff had been destroyed. Writing in Welsh was illegal by pain of death, since the 1200s. So these books were guarded and hidden. The only chance of getting any knowledge was to do what Iolo did and walk around the old homes and go through their private libraries and their secret books and make copies. And so, of course, this all got forgeries, because it caused a heck of a shock when this all hit. There's all this history, there's ancient writing language, and they just went out to attack him on a personal level, as often happens. And now I was in a bizarre situation. I was talking to someone, very mainstream academic, and they were saying that, outrageous, said, and they were saying that, more and more things that Iolo's supposed to have forged are being discovered hundreds of years before him, so he couldn't have forged them, right? He's copied them. Yeah, he's also a genius who just made up this entire history and wrote poems and everything in writing in medieval styles and all sorts of stuff. And now the weird thing is, now if you go and talk to someone who knows about these things on the official side, as it were, they say, at least 20% of it is forged. You're like, hang on, 20%?
It's 20% of it is forged. So
what about the other 80% then? So 80% isn't then, for a start.
But that's one of the issues that happens, isn't it? Is of like, but this is lies here. It's like, but the rest is truth. But they only concentrate on what. No. But this bit, this isn't right. It's like, well, okay.
Well, the 20% is only considered a forgery because they haven't yet acknowledged that it comes from earlier records. They could turn up. The number's getting smaller, not bigger. Every time they find something, that number gets smaller. The amount is supposedly forged.
And again, these things should be well known in Wales. They should be having programs about.
It's outrageous. All they do is like to attack Iolo, don't they? Like when they did a program about him called "Not Bad for a Junkie," things like this. Because the people who attacked him, Al Wilson does a great job describing it. The people who were attacking him, what they said he would do, he would. He'd go out and he's a stonemason originally, self-educated man. He'd walk around, he'd copy his notes. Then after the rest of his family went to bed, about 11 o'clock. He would stay up late. And he's doing laudanum. So he's supposed to be doing loads of cocaine or whatever is in laudanum. And forging all this stuff. Well, as Alan Wilson says, well, how the hell do you know? His own family were never aware of him being a drug addict or staying up all night doing these things. Everyone's in bed. There's no one else in the house.
I knew his dealer, man. He came. I knew his dealer. That's what it was, man.
How does he know what was going on in the privacy of someone's home in the middle of the night? You know, it's outrageous when you look into it. Getting back to what we're talking about was so Wilson Black had a proper look at, you can see in like Bardas in here, you can see how the writing system works. I'm reading it again. It's really heavy going. It's very academic. There's a better picture. Hang on. To give people, if they haven't seen it before, get a better idea of what the lettering looks like. Hopefully you can...
it's like the ones you get on the Nordic stones, isn't it? Those...
On the what, sorry?
You get them on stones.
Yes, this is exactly it. Yes, you can read the stones, and the stones all read using this. Because what you need then is a cipher. So we have to say, well, if you see that shape, what is it? So you got Llewellyn Sion's cipher, I think it's from the 1560s. So it's like that shape is a D, and that shape is an A, and it's a very simple cipher. It's not meant to be like secret messages. So if you see that, you write it down, that's a CH, that's a D, and you can read them. So then the strange thing happened was back in the 80s or 90s, Alan Wilson was stationed, he got a job in Italy because he was this genius who could do anything, like a human computer brain. And he went over there to create a new shipyard from a beach, plan the whole thing, how the stock's going to arrive, the factories, the docks, everything. So while he was there on his weekends, he used to go to museums and he realized, hang on a second, the Etruscan in the museums in Italy, you can read it. It's the same writing. And the first half of this book is explaining also how you can read Etruscan. And there's loads and loads of examples in here of famous documents, Etruscan vases. And so there's the sort of stones you were talking about. You'll see the lettering.
Yeah.
So you'll see it on there. You can see some of these in like Margam Abbey, Llaethdy Fawr, Llantwit Major. And then you see a similar thing in Etruscan stuff. And what they do there, you have stones very much like that. Loads and loads of writing on them. It's the same writing when you look at it closely. So you can, and it reads in Welsh. This is the weird thing. So you can read the Etruscan stuff in Welsh, and it makes sense. And officially, go on the website, have a look. Officially, they can't read these things.
Well, yeah, I guess. I go on a limb, but you know, I go out on a limb.
Go on.
You know, this is why perhaps they try to ban Welsh, is to stop people reading this. They knew it was, and people would know the truth, and they wouldn't have the.
Yeah, maybe. Well, I mean, they've definitely got rid of this whole idea that Welsh is an ancient country with ancient language and ancient history, and they can trace the migrations all the way back to the Middle East, you know. Yeah. And maybe we are the 10 tribes as well, you know, the 10 tribes from the Bible. I mean, that's it was a very convincing argument to say they did come here.
Yeah.
Very convincing argument. Much more convincing than an argument against, but it's difficult to prove. But I think Wilson Black did a pretty good job.
Well, I was going to say, even though it's in the book, but if people want to go and have a look about that, there are videos of Alan talking about it.
On my channel, I got as much as I can find of Alan copied onto there as well.
Yeah,
and there's one he's the man you want to see. I mean, he's just brilliant. And what's it called? The one Karen organised. Anyway, if you look, there's a playlist called Alan Wilson Talks.
All right,
and it's a series of his interviews with me and Alan talking, and then his stuff where he's on stage doing presentations. I'm trying to get everything in. I'm going to see him again soon and try and get him talking more. It's getting more and more difficult as he's almost 90.
Yeah.
And tragically, his memory's starting to go a bit. Not his long-term memory. Like if you get him on this, great.
But it's his
what he did 10 minutes ago, you know, that's the problem.
Yeah. And that's, it is age, but it's because he's not.
It's isolation, isn't it?
Yeah, it's isolation. It's yeah, I'm just as bad.
Breaking my heart, you know. It's not this lockdowns and everything. No one's able to visit him. No one can see him. He can't go anywhere. And I mean, for someone like Alan, who's so gregarious and loves company and such a great talker, you know, it's really is crushing.
It is, and you know, when I came across it and I showed to Matthew, and we watched everything that we could find on him then. And that's how Rich Hall then was.
Yeah, Rich Hall. Yep.
That. And then Rich, as I said earlier, we found yourself, and it's such interesting information. And as you said, especially like we got somebody watching. We got a few people watching us here. Grant, I was in school with Grant, so you probably remember a lot of the old Welsh stories, but they don't even, that we were taught in schools. They don't teach now.
No,
and
there's not so much communication between parents and children on these things for some reason. I guess sport, TV, all these other things to talk about, music, modern culture, American culture. People aren't sitting down and talking about the old Welsh stories a lot, are they?
Yeah, no. We got Gary Taylor. Do you know Gary? I think he's
hello, Gary. Yes, yeah. Mandy
McCourt as well as tuned
in. Oh, Mandy as well. Oh, brilliant. There we go. We got the hardcore BHHs are on here tonight.
And Transgwalia Trabant, yeah. No, he left us a message at 6:20 this evening. So he was way
enthusiasm. I like it.
I like that as well. Now, so what's coming up? No, I believe you're doing a talk at the end of the month.
Yeah. So anyway, this is going to go on. It's almost there. It's going to be produces 2 volumes. So I should just mention the second half quickly.
Yeah.
The second half, which is the crux of this, is then about the Welsh migration to America in the 6th century. All about Madoc. Not the 12th century one. It's a well-proven forgery. And that's an example of politics there, because you have the original. I just quickly, if you just give me a couple of minutes there, you got the original story of a Welsh migration from South Wales via Haverfordwest in the 6th century. King Arthur, his brother Morvan, all these people, right? Okay, I won't go into all the details of it, but you can read about it and talk about it on the channel. I'll talk about a lot more in the next few weeks. So that's existed, all right? We've got the historical records. We've got, I'll come back to, we got some historical writing about it, all these things, all right? So we've got this as part of our history. Now, it comes to Tudor times, and they're just starting to open up North America. Now, you've got a couple of problems. One is they have, whoever can claim the land first can claim the land. That's the one thing you want, all right? That's the first thing you need to get your pea on the tree first kind of situation. The second one, then, I'm trying to remember the Latin. Anyway, you need virgin soil. There's no Christians there. Okay, this is how Spain and Portugal claimed all of South America, because there are no Christians there already. Therefore, it's Nova Terra. It's not Terra Nova. Anyway, it's basically savages. You can take it. So what we had the first time round is when it came to Tudor times, Elizabeth I and that reign, they wanted to claim North America. So how can they claim it when the Spanish are saying they were there before them? And you got what can we do? Well, we've got this story of the Welsh guy. So they changed the name slightly from Madoc to Maradoc, and they're going to claim that he's part of their ancestry. The problem is, the English claim to Wales, they don't have a claim to South Wales. To this day, they don't have a legal claim to South Wales, but that's another issue. Is that what they can claim, though, by marriage is into the family of Gwynedd, the family of Llywelyn. And if you look through the royal families, where it's the Stuarts or it's the current monarchy, all of them, they all eventually come back to Llywelyn. But Llywelyn never had all of Wales. He only had a little bit in the north.
Yeah.
And it's only after a certain date. So you have to take the story of Madoc and move it to North Wales and make it a Gwynedd story. Because then you can claim, because of Maradoc went to North America, therefore we were there first, we claim it. Okay?
Right.
So this is the first thing with that story. Now, what you can read about in the book, and then where it gets really interesting, is that officially no Europeans or anyone got to America before Columbus in 1492. And yet you've got stories which are obviously what Welsh call the other world.
Yeah.
So the propagandists change the other world into fairies and myths and all that. No, the other world, just like the Spanish call it the New World, the Welsh call it the other world, right? Anoin in Welsh. And then there's so you have this situation We've got the other world. So it's all there in the history records. And one of these records, well, many of them, but one in particular, is acknowledged as being written in the rule, I think it's Edward II, who died in 1485, which is 7 years before Columbus went to America. So how have we got a dated account of North America dated to before Columbus, who never actually got there anyway, only ever got to the West Indies, but still. So you've got this kind of situation. Then the second prong, where you see another rewriting of history, is what happens in America then. Because the second rule you have to claim all the territory, you can't have previous Christians. So now you have to flip the whole thing round. You have to get rid of the Welsh stories. You have to get rid of all that. And you have to plow through. So you have a guy called Powell, and what he does then, he's in charge of the surveying.
Yeah.
He's in charge of the archaeology, but he's also in charge of routing the railroads, which are pushing west. Now, if this is Savage's country, sorry to be rude, but that's the way they thought in those days, he can just take the land and run it through. So if he surveys an area and suddenly there's a big rock over there with a great big Christian cross on it, or you see some Christian writing over there, hang on, you got a problem.
Yeah.
Because this isn't virgin territory anymore. This is Christian land. These people are Christians. You can't do this. You've lost your moral justification, the manifest destiny to keep going west. Yeah. It all collapses. So, of course, you need a lot of ballast, a lot of small stones and rubble for your railroads. Where are you going to go for it? He's covering all the bases. Yeah. And what Powell did, I think for commercial reasons as much as political and historical reasons, he made a declaration, absolutely nothing before Columbus is anything but Native American. And you think, that's wonderful. It's like these days, the sort of liberal-minded have leapt on this and make it as like a noble savage, isn't it wonderful kind of. But it was never meant to be that. The reason he did it originally was because that's what he needed to get a clear road to put the railroads in. He wasn't being nice to the Indians at all. If he acknowledged anything earlier, he'd have to have problems getting planning permission, basically. So he ignores that. So the fact you had Mandan Indians, you had all these stories coming back of Welsh speaking, all that had to go out the window. You couldn't have any of it. You couldn't find a Bible and stuff because suddenly you've lost your whole claim to the land, and you can't just go and kicking these people off. So the white Indians, they call the Mandans and the Melungeons and all these, they're a problem, and there's so much recorded about the problems they had. It's a political disaster because only white people could vote. And these people turn up from their wigwams and their huts wherever they live. They say, well, we're white. No, we didn't mean you. You're not the kind of white we meant. We meant our kind of white. So there's a real problem. They're white people. What do they do? Do they get a vote or not? Do they count as Native American or do they count as European? It's well recorded, all these problems and everything. And the whole lot has just been gone whoosh, inconvenient, gone. And all a load of nonsense. So that Maddock history has gone through two massive rewrites, if you like, because it doesn't fit politically anybody. Oh, I've gone full screen. You still there, Benny? Is it just me suddenly? Hang on, what's happened? I don't know if we've timed out. It still says live, right? Well, I don't know. I can't see anything. I'm gonna keep talking. I know Benny's only put enough 50p's in the meter for 1 hour. And I hope he comes back. Maybe he's had a problem at his end, so I'll keep talking. All right, well, if it's just me, it's just me. So anyways, that's the situation that's come out with that. Those books. Are you back, Benny?
I am back. My computer, I've got to go on my phone again. My computer's just
good thing you got your phone on. Don't worry, I just kept going. It's all right, mate. I'm used to talking to myself. I do it all the time. If talking to yourself is the first sign of insanity, mate, I'll tell you, I do it like 8 times a week. So I was just filling in there, like it's like to the Maddox story, which you can see unraveling, doesn't fit anybody politically. And this is the problem the Welsh have got in more general terms. The history doesn't suit anybody. Christianity starting here doesn't suit the church, and the Roman church, which was invented, 300-400 years later. Yeah. They don't like it. The royal family don't like the fact that there's a royal family which predates them by 1,500 years, and they're still around, and the descendants are still here. So they don't want to hear it. The Germanic the City of London, who really run the country, they don't want to hear it. All these things are a problem, and I don't think we have any allies. And sadly, and I'll put you on the spot now, where turn around a little bit now, Ben. I'll ask you some questions because I must get an email every 2 or 3 days saying, why don't you put Plaid Cymru onto this? And I say, well, they don't seem interested. Have any idea why? What's going on?
Well, no, this is a question that always I whenever there's anything new or interesting, if I was the guy in charge, I'd be jumping on straight on it, because that's our history. That's that should be able to bring us together. And yeah, it's a one myself that I don't quite understand. But when I'm the Prime Minister of Wales, then I'll open everything up. So
excellent.
So vote for me.
There you are. But it is a bizarre one. None of them, all the ones like Yes Cymru and Nation Wales and all these, none of them are interested.
No, well, I've actually sent an email to Yes Cymru of your channel and said,
okay,
you should look at this, because again, it gives them so much more ammunition.
You'd think so, wouldn't it?
And
I get people a bit more pride and interest,
And it's one thing. One of the things that has really sort of bothered me in all this time is, I just don't understand it. Maybe
no, I don't understand it either.
Once I get into power, we'll sort that.
Yeah, okay, all right. We'll keep pushing on that one. That'll be okay. Because I think Alan Wilson sees it as a North Wales, South Wales issue is the problem.
Do you know what? It probably is. I think that may have a big thing with it. But we just got to remember that
because Plaid's got a real North Walian origins, hasn't it? Because I've been looking into Plaid's history more than I ever had before. I've done some videos on the more recent stuff. Like there's a series called The Treachery of the Blue Books. Because normally I deal with the ancient stuff, but I mean, that's 1840s. And how they came into Wales, I think most people know about it. They should do. Everyone should know about it. And they came in supposedly appraising the educational system. And what they discovered was that the problem was everyone spoke Welsh. And people were very literate. The chapels are doing a brilliant job. Oh, that's what I mentioned earlier about how people learn to read. Have you got to just throw in quickly?
Yeah.
I found this through another routes. One of the ways that people learn to read, and one of the reasons I'm joining dots here, okay? So it's not like the whole thing's written anywhere particularly. But what you would do is you would learn the Bible was crucial. And this is why getting a Welsh language Bible was so crucial. People like Salisbury doing the first Bibles back in the 1580s and stuff. Because what would happen is you would learn your Bible off by heart. You would learn whole passages, not necessarily the whole Bible. So the idea was, sometimes you could learn a nursery rhyme or a poem. So you could, Jack and Jill went up the hill. Well, if you learn the poem, and then someone says to you, well, here's Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water written. What you can then do is look at it and say, well, that must be Jack, that must be Anne, that must be Jill. And that's how you learn to read. You don't learn to read A, B, C, D. You learn the words. Like when I was learned back in the 60s, there's a big thing in schools, or 60s and early 70s, called flashcards for teaching children to read. So what you do is instead of teaching them letters and sounds, it's why people in my generation are so rubbish at spelling. You never learned to spell, really. So what you do, just flash it up, and that would say cat. You say cat. Another one would flash at me, aeroplane or dog or whatever it was, and you learnt words.
Yeah.
So in my mind, it seems a similar system, and that's how the literacy levels were phenomenally high. So when the inspectors came in, they couldn't. What they were really criticising them for was not speaking English. So what they did then, the usual thing, same as they attacked Yolo or they attacked Alan Wilson or any people like this. And I've noticed people I'm starting to get some attacks as well now, so I'm on the list. So they just absolutely hammered the Welsh people. They said the women were wanton, they had no morals, and they were disgusting lifestyles, and they lived like pigs. And I am under exaggerating, and whatever the opposite exaggerating is. If you read the actual report, it's appalling what they said.
Yeah. No,
you'd say Welsh mothers have got the instincts to raise a child in much the same way as a cow has to raise a calf. That's what they said about Welsh mothers.
Well, that gives them a reason to come in and re-educate you then, see, doesn't it? Yeah.
So what they had to do then was come in and civilize us, and I've been reading more about the way they wrote then. It was incredibly racist and damning, and and bigoted. So it's all been part of it. So I say I try a bit more recent than I normally do, but it is worth looking at.
Well, no, it is, and again, it makes sense of when you look at it like that and you see things, and you can say, well, yeah, everything else makes sense. What's happened since and before?
It has to go. Our history has to go. There's no one on our side.
No,
this is the problem. Even within Wales, we don't seem to have any allies. There's no political parties or organisations.
Yeah,
Cadw aren't interested in any of this. No one is. It's just really bizarre. And I don't know what we do about that, apart from, my objective, I don't have any political aspirations at all. If anyone doesn't know me, I'm not a member of any parties, organisations, or anything. I'm just keeping the history alive so that the next generation and any other people who want to do things with it, they can go off and do whatever they like with it, as long as they're true to the history.
Yeah,
I'm sure stuff doesn't vanish. That's what I'm here to do.
And grateful we are as well for you carrying it on. Like you said, it was, it had stopped. And if you hadn't have picked that rugby ball back up and run with it, then the game would be over. So it's a big thank you to you from.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, I'm just picking up with Wilson and Blackett, the ones who worked it all out. I just keep it going. And it gives me a purpose. I have to say. I find it brilliant. I've got it doesn't make any money or anything. We need to start generating some revenue to keep the thing going. That's going to be a bit of a challenge. So we're okay for now. So but it's not enough to make a full-time income out of, but we got to do it. We have to do it.
Well, no, you do, and it's like I said, I'd come across it through the books, and then that all just stopped. And if you hadn't picked up the mantle really, and and run with it, the rugby ball and run with it, then probably most of the 1,000 odd followers you got, they wouldn't know anything about it.
Yeah. So well, people like the ones you mentioned watching, they're getting involved as well. Like Mandy does a lot of work, and then we got. You couldn't do it without volunteers, people spreading the word, helping with editing the books. Because there are new books coming out as well. The stuff Wilson and Blackett have written, and they just basically said, I have it all now. And some of the things they're a bit low about, where, it's got to the stage where it's the opposite of what normally happens in academic circles. I've got Alan Wilson and Barron saying to me, look, you can put your own name on this. You don't have to put our name on it. Because our name is so toxic. It makes life so difficult for you. Just make it the name. Like they put this name on here, Grant Barclay,
Yeah.
And I'm like, you are more famous than you realise, They're very isolated up there. So I would never pass off someone else's work. I just couldn't do it. And I'm proud to promote their stuff and be associated with them, But that's the state it got to.
Yeah.
They left South Wales. One of the reasons they live in Newcastle was the amount of harassment they were getting here. They couldn't do the work in Wales. It's bizarre.
Just unbelievable, isn't it? But I'm looking forward to all the new stuff coming out. I tune in on a Sunday evening. Sometimes it's a playback, but I learn something new every week.
Excellent, good. Yeah, me too.
And that's what I like about it is people are sending things to you, and you are learning, and everyone's learning together.
Yes,
and like I said, it's that community that's being built. And
we're on a journey together. I'm no Alan Wilson. I don't have all this just stuck in my brain and I just churn it out. It's
and more people know about it, then it can live, and that's really good. And and I take my hat off to you from myself and all the subscribers on your channel. I
can see myself blushing now on there.
That you're doing.
Some loads more good stuff to come as well. I've got the advantage of some of this stuff, which was going to be another book, another year away. But I've got to say one more thing about the wind turbines and stuff, because you did mention it earlier, and all these hills around us, Pontypridd. I think there's one up by Aberdare. I'm pretty sure there's one up Hirwaun Way, where I was born. Across opposite here, up in Eglwys, up to the St. Gennydd Common, is really. And these people are going to have such a shock. You have no idea. They're 200 meters high. The ones you see at the moment are 75 meters. These are triple. There's some going up in the Aberavon area are going to be over 250 meters. Biggest ever. And as I keep going on about I was a bit wired. I'll put people off following the history, but it is important because what you have to realize as well is that they only last 20 years. They're not like a long term, that's it, we got free energy forever. No. And all the money's going to foreign, it's all foreign companies doing the work. All the owners are foreign. None of it's coming back to us. We're not getting free electric out of this, and we're not saving the planet or anything. That's nonsense as well, because for one, the total pollution of the whole of Wales is like 0.0001% of the world or something, and China produces more in pollution in about 10 minutes than we do in a year. You know, it really is that kind of scale. Not only that, but what I didn't realize, so I started doing the research into it, is how much devastation they do. You look at the size of a wind turbine, oh, yeah, that's not too bad. What you don't realize is there's millions of tons of concrete goes into these farms. They're each one, especially the 200-meter ones, they're probably going to be deep. The last lot have got 8 meters deep of concrete to form a base for them. But what we don't think about, because we never get to see it, it's always fenced off. I've got people on the inside sending me information and photographs, is you need an even bigger platform for the crane to go on to put the tower in place. The tower doesn't go up by magic. You've got to get these huge, huge cranes up there. So the cranes need a massive base to sit on. So when you combine the size of the base of the turbine and the base or the platform, they call it, for the crane, it's about 45 meters by 75. That's 2/3 the size of a rugby pitch. If you're standing on the 22, everything towards the opposition try line is covered in concrete. That's how big. And that's for each turbine.
Yeah.
And then you have the feeder roads coming in, because you've got to get your crane up there, all this heavy kit, these turbines and all that. They've all got to get up there somehow. So that's you have to make these hardcore gravel roads. They're 8 meters wide, because the lorries have got to be huge, and they dig down and they compact. And one of the sneaky things they do, they say, oh, we think, where's all the ballast coming from? Where's all the stones coming from? And this is what really scares me.
Well, they break all the stones that are up there.
Yeah, we shouldn't bring it from hundreds of miles away. What they tend to do is open up a local quarry. So the next thing you'll have, near Aberdeen and places like that, you're going to see a new quarry opened up, because they need the hardcore to make the roads. And then the concrete, all those thousands and thousands of tons or millions of tons of concrete, all gets made out of cement. The cement gets made in India. So all those people think they're saving the planet, because it's a very destructive process. You need to get limestone. You have to burn the limestone. And the pollution has been given off in these towns in India where they haven't got proper safety controls and monitoring and air quality. The people over there are dying from the fumes because they have to mine the limestone. You couldn't make it up. They have to mine the limestones in dreadful conditions. And then you have to burn them. You have to burn them in lime kilns, and the pollution goes straight into the sky. And then you've got to ship it all the way across from India using, petrol-driven transport or whatever. It's just maddening. And then the same with the iron they use to make the towers. That iron comes from India. We don't produce our own steel anymore. They shut all that down. We've still got Tata Steel Works. But I got a friend working there. All the iron is coming from abroad. So the iron's coming from India. They've got to make the roads, they've got to make the platforms. And then, to the amount of pollution, if you're lucky, according to the industry, their own industry figures, it's at least 8 years before the supposed CO2 emissions from the production are recovered.
Yeah.
And I would argue it's more like 15 years, because they don't factor in the transport, which makes a huge difference.
And that's 8 years per turbine.
And they only last 20 years. And people say, oh, you could take it down, put a new one up. No, how mad is this, right? This must be the most wasteful thing ever. I was shocked when I heard this. There's your platform with the turbine. Oh, yeah, perfect. It's a turbine. Look at that. So what happens is the stress on this turbine, apparently it rocks the concrete because they're so huge, and with the wind and everything, it rocks them. So at the end of the 20-year cycle, when this thing's useless and the engines are all burnt out, if they last that long anyway, and the rotors are broken and everything, this is now not structurally, integrity has gone. So they can't use the platform again either. And then, to add even more salt in the wound, the companies who get the initial contract will, as part of their deal, will agree to take the turbines away at the end and make good and all that. Well, by then that company's disappeared and gone bust. Another company and another company and another company, another company, same people or similar people, but the original contractors are no longer around, and you get left with these towers stuck there forever. And then something which Llewellyn Bren picked up on was then, what are you going to do? You got this rusting eyesores sitting on the hills. How are you going to get them down?
Yeah, how are you going to get them?
Councils can't afford it. Well, a housing developer will come along and say, "Oh, we'll sort it out for you. We'll tidy it up. We'll put some houses up there. It's a brownfield site anyway. What are you worried about?" And then other hills become a housing estate. That's the long term. It is appalling. It's a crisis, which people are just not aware of. And it's there we are, heartbreaking.
It is, and it's like you said, it's happening all over Wales, really, isn't it? It's hang on, we're going to comment.
Have a look at the government paper. People type into your search engines Wales Vision 2040 and see what our government's got planned for us. 7,500 new homes every year for the next 20 years. The population of Wales is going through the roof, and it's not Welsh people having babies, and you got no idea what's happening. It's there, but you got to find it. Yeah. It's not on the news. It's not on the papers, and this is appalling. So as much as I try and avoid politics, on this one I have to get involved because we got to stop it, haven't we?
We have. Well, again, you're gonna have to. Now you're gonna have to come on in a couple of weeks again now, because there's loads I wanted to talk to you about again tonight.
Oh, David Mosley's on from Germany. There he is. Yeah, we've got to go. We're right. Okay, yeah. So I sing my wind turbines on. Oh.
Well, before we go as well now, so you're going to be talking in a couple of weeks in Cardiff.
Oh, yeah. Yes, 28th, Cardiff. I'll put him up on the website with Martin, what he's doing. Oh, it's a fantastic tour. I should talk more about the tour. It's nice to see David. He's all the way over in Germany, so that's good. North Star David. So Martin's thing is going to be brilliant because we meet, it's going to be, I think it's about 2 o'clock, I think, in the afternoon. And I'm doing a tour then. It's like an all-day thing. It's not just a talk in the evening. And I'll be going around Butte Park, and there's a couple of other places in Cardiff where I'll be talking about some of the places, like the gravesite of Joseph Arimathea and the Bishop of Bethlehem. He's buried in Butte Park. People don't realise. And you think, why is it actually says on his gravestone in Latin? You can see he's been all around the world. So why is the Bishop of Bethlehem buried in Cardiff? And you can see his grave. So I'll be doing the history kind of stuff, and Martin's got other things to point out there. And I'm not sure exactly where the tour is going to go. And then it'll be a chat in the evening. And I think the next venue then is, it's like, God help us, like a rock tour. There's Bath, Torquay, and then it goes up to north then. We're going to York, Newcastle, Whitby. I'm not doing all of them, by the way. I'm trying to make it so I can see Wilson and Blackett in Newcastle at the same time as the northeast ones. But I don't think I'll make it as far as Edinburgh. He's going to go to Rosslyn Chapel as well, which would be interesting.
Yeah, I think that's the last date, isn't it? On the
and then there's the conference in Birmingham then, which by that time I think we're into May by then. It's sort of every week or two, you know. It's not a sort of non-stop touring. The band,
I'm really,
you know about touring, Benny, don't you? You've done touring.
Yeah, I'm going to be joining you guys, so I'm really looking forward to it, to be honest, and to get to meet lots of the other people that I see online, and it'd be nice to get together and meet everyone.
We've got to do more live stuff. It's essential we get to meet each other. There's people I've been swapping emails with and stuff now for 2-3 years and get on so well, and we haven't a chance to meet properly, or another way to put it, a lot of people have met me now. People either visit me or I go and see them. They got something to show me, and I do my videos, walk up the hill with someone, all that kind of thing. But the people on one video, I haven't met the people on the other video, if you know what I mean. There's this group of people who only know each other.
Yeah, and it'd be nice to get everyone together.
Through me, sort of thing.
Yeah, it would be really nice. Well, maybe we can organise something in the summer, and we can.
I'd love to do that. If we got venues, because we got one of our members is John Powell, who's brilliant. He's the mayor of Brecon at the moment.
Yes, I know John.
Yeah, he's a fantastic bloke. I don't know how he does it. He seems just 24 hours a day active. I just don't know. It's just remarkable. I did a talk in Taft's Well about hieroglyphics, and there he was. I mean, he's just like, how do you do it, John? So I'm trying to persuade him to let us use they've got a concert venue there. And I think we could. I'm writing a little play and a musical maybe a musical, be a play anyway, about Arthur. And I thought we could have a conference in the day or two. Brecon would be a great spot for it, I think.
Yeah, it would. And Brecon is. Yeah, I think that would be a cool spot. It's sort of centre of the South Wales valleys. Everything sort of heads to Brecon.
Yeah. Well, we've got a great venue as well. We know the mayor.
Yeah.
But if you've got a venue now, because the place next to you is pretty good as well, isn't it? I've got what you call it now. The Yard. What's the place where you are? Jack's. Yes. What would be a capacity there for us? Could do a seating event, or the only? I had a look in.
Yeah, they do seating events there as well. You've got upstairs or downstairs. So yeah, there's. We'll have to have a chat, and I'll have a word with them, and we can sort something out.
Yeah, I think we can.
Right. Well, we thank you so much again for coming on tonight. I asked you last minute. Last week.
No, that's great. I'm always good to go. Yeah.
But we always have. We could talk for hours. We could really talk for hours.
Yeah. But, it's always good fun. I love seeing you. Yeah.
But then I can keep it now for next month, and I can talk to you again.
Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah, make it not too long, and make it more often. Yeah. Because I came to meet you for lunch, and I was still there about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, wasn't it?
Yeah. So
you and Matthew, yeah.
Well, I'm back on Friday. Well, it looks like I'll have to do it off my iPad because it looks like my computer is actually died.
Oh no!
So never mind. I needed a new one, but I got a lot of work on there. I'm gonna have to try and. I hope it hasn't died.
All right.
But I'll be back on Friday.
So I can help out somehow. So I got any kit around.
Yeah. At 8:30 with Nigel Evans, who's a musician, presenter, author, and director. So I'll be talking to him this Friday. But thanks so much for coming on, and we'll talk again soon. No, I'm going to say you stay there a moment. I'm going to say ta-ra to everyone, and then.
Okay.
Thanks. If you've just tuned in now, or you haven't tuned into the show before, please give us a subscribe. Hit the bell on YouTube, but if you're on Facebook, then go over to YouTube and do that, and give us a follow as well on Facebook and YouTube. Thanks so much. This has been Benney Babbles. I shall see you Friday. Have an amazing evening. Bye. Oh, hang on a minute. There we go.